Okay, comparing fractions. I like to say that if you're looking at fractions, there are two kinds of problems. One is it's obvious which one's bigger and which one is smaller just by picturing it in your mind. Maybe one is almost full and the other one's almost empty. Then it's really clear which one is bigger. And then the second kind are the kind where they're really close to each other, and that requires more skill. So here we go. This one is 1/8 and 5/9. Should be an easy one because 1/8 would be what? Almost empty. And 5/9 is like basically a little bit, it's around half, but a little bit more than half. So if you were to color them in, 1/8 is real small and 5/9 is a little more than half. So obviously 5/9 is the bigger one. Here's another one, 7/8 and 5/9. Well, 7/8 in your mind is almost full, and 4/9 is about half, and it's even less than half. So if you color them in, 7/8 is pretty much the whole thing, and 4/9 is a little smaller than half. So obviously 7/8 is the big one. Now you get to one like this, where it's 91 out of 100 and 92 out of 100. They're actually really close. But what makes them easy is because they have the same bottom number, which is 100, all you have to do is look at the top number and you know 92 is going to be bigger than 91. So 92 out of 100 is the bigger fraction. But this is the first example of one that's a little bit harder. And the reason it's harder is because if you look at them both, 7/8 and 6/7, they're both almost full. And when you color them in, they both kind of look like that. They're almost the same exact picture. So the question is, how do you figure out which one is bigger? And what you need to do is, remember this one back here that had the same number on the bottom? So it was easy to tell that the 92 was bigger than the 91. We're going to want to take this problem and give both of these fractions the same bottom number. So the one has an 8 on the bottom and the other has a 7. So 8 times 7. We're going to make them both have 56 as a denominator. 56 here and 56 here. So then what we're going to do is figure out what they multiplied by on the bottom. On the left one, they did 8 times 7 equals 56. And this one, they did 7 times 8 to get 56. So whatever you did on the bottom, you do on the top. So they multiplied by 8 times 7 equals 56. So we do 7 times 7 and we get 49. On this one, they multiplied on the bottom by 8, so we're going to multiply on the top by 8. 6 times 8, 48. So now they have the same bottom number, 56, but one has a 49 on top and one has a 48. So which one's bigger? Well, 49 is obviously bigger than 48, which tells us that the 7/8 is a tiny bit bigger than the 6/7. Okay, let's try another one that's similar. So the whole thing is 1/8 and 1/7. The problem is they're both very small. And it's hard to tell which one's smaller. So what we're going to do is if you colored it, they'd both look like a tiny bit. So the idea here is when you have two fractions that have the same picture or they're really close to each other, you have to get a common denominator. This one has an 8, this one has a 9, so we got to get a common denominator. 8 times 9, ta-da, 72. So what we're going to do is now that they have the same bottom number, we can figure out the tops and then it'll be easy to compare. So on the left one, they multiplied 8 times something to get 72. That was times 9. And this one, they did 9 times something to get 72. So that's 9 times 8. So all we got to do is whatever they multiplied by on the bottom, we're going to multiply by on the top. 1 times 9 is 9. And on this side, they multiply by 8. So we're going to multiply by 8 and you get 8. So now they have the same bottom number, but the tops, it's obvious that 9 is a teensy weensy bit bigger than 8. So this fraction over here, 1/8, is a little bit bigger than 1/9. Okay, and the question is, can you do these now? Now, I'm going to have you try to picture the answers to these questions, and then I'll pause and see if you get it. If you were going to draw these two, how would they, this is a tricky one because the pictures are going to be the same. Think to yourself, what would both pictures look like? Okay, hopefully you know that they're both about half, but a little bit more than half, because like half of 8 would be 4/8, but it's a little more, it's 5/8. And then this one, half of 10 would be 5, but it's a little bit more, it's 6/10. So both of these pictures are the same, so the picture doesn't really help. So what we're gonna have to do is get a bottom denominator that works for 8 and 80, and you know my trick is always to do what? You just multiply them, 8 times 10, and you get 80. So they're both going to have 80 on the bottom. Then what you're going to do is figure out what they multiplied by. They multiplied by 10. And on this one, they multiplied by 8. 8 times 10 is 80. 10 times 8 is 80. Then our job is to do what? Exactly. Our job is to multiply on the top the same thing as they did on the bottom. So times 10 times 10, 5 times 10, going to be 50. This one, 10 times 8, so 6 times 8 is going to be 48. So what we're going to end up with is 50 over here and 48 here. And what's nice now is they both have the same bottom number. So we can just compare the tops. And 50 is a little bit bigger than 48. So that means 5/8 is a little bit bigger than 6/10. Hopefully this will get the idea started in your mind.